Hola and welcome to a new episode of the Roofless Dog and Pony Show. Happy New Year! It's been a while. We're super excited. We are looking forward to a new 12-month period. My name is Julio Panicello. I am the Dream Alchemist at Roofless Painters, a free-range art school, atelier, and gallery for present day romantics. With every episode, we reveal the theme of our next painting collection so you can find out what we will be painting next and also the reason why. We explain where the painting theme comes from and how it relates to our contemporary time. We explore different possibilities for visual representation of the concept using images of paintings throughout art history as inspiration while citing stylistic and historical references. Yay! Thanks everyone for joining. We're so excited. Happy New Year again. And it's been a while, so we are happy to start a new year. We're happy to start new collections of paintings. And this particular one, the very first collection of paintings that we're going to do, always carries a lot of symbolism and significance. Every single year for the past almost 5 years since we created Roofless Painters, we have tried to make the first collection of the year, the first painting collection, something that symbolizes a beginning, something that has meaning that could be carried for the rest of the year. So it's a very important collection or beginning of a painting series, I should say. Well, anyhow, going back to the introduction, so we give some time for people to join the live whatever this is. In many ways, our episodes are like our paintings. They're messy, unpredictable, and unvarnished, and sometimes chaotic, and they're not super planned. So bear with us if there's any interruption or some technical difficulties, because it happens. And except for the introduction that I'm reading, the rest is sort of like on the go. We have prepared a series of images that we're going to use to explain the reason why we're going to use this concept or subject. But other than that, we are just going to do this live, truly. And we're not going to take more than 25 to 30 minutes. Always we keep it under 30 minutes. All episodes can be found as video on Instagram and on our YouTube channel as well. And also as podcast on any podcast platform. You just have to go wherever you listen to podcasts and you type the Roofless Dog and Pony Show and you will find a bunch of episodes. We need to update a few more, but sometimes it's nice to kind of like listen to the episodes without having the video. We do our best to give or provide enough content in order to not rely on the slides. But anyhow, so you are welcome to contact us with any questions or comments about this episode. And also, please contribute your notes to this presentation with questions or comments. We humbly stand to be corrected. We provide interpretations and points of view that are very sometimes biased and sometimes most of the time very subjective. So please either comment or send your questions during the live cast or anytime thereafter. Also, we are reading a new book for this season, the winter season, What Painting Is, by James Elkins, and we highly recommend it. You can find out more about what we do and why we do it on our website, rooflesspainters.com/book club. So we still have a lot of time until March. And also we are going to change the timing of the painting collection. So instead of doing one painting collection every week, we're going to just spread it out to 2 weeks. So we're going to provide 2 weeks in order to not only join us in any in-person session that we host, but also remotely. So that provides a little bit more time in case you want to submit some work. And by the way, we're also going to propose, or we're going to launch these painting collections as open calls. We're going to use Submittable to propose anyone who is interested to submit work based on the concept that we will introduce every other week. So we want to make sure that we keep this open and inclusive, and we hope you can join us in the next few hosted sessions. But if you want to do this on your own and submit your work, we'll be happy to feature it on our website. So I'm going to go ahead and start the slideshow. Hold on one second, see if I can do this. Yes, and we prepared a few paintings. Oh my gosh, I hope this makes sense to you guys. So this is our first painting. By the way, the title of this painting collection is White Flags. And we're going to just explain where this comes from, and also how we can use that concept to create something that doesn't necessarily have to be a white flag. But anyhow, so in the past few days, or before New Year's, we came across an article by a very apparently well-known forecast. A trend spotter. Her name is Marian Salzman, and apparently she is sort of like well-known in corporate in the corporate world, because she has been providing a yearly report on what she thinks the new trends are going to be for the upcoming year. She's not she's in PR, and she is not in the business of like fortune telling. So she's not a futurologist. In a way, she could be named a futurologist, because she has been very good in analyzing trends and then forecasting visions for the future. It's fascinating to see how some entities, companies, corporations, they have a team of people behind the curtain that their sole purpose is to sort of like get ahead of any beginning trend that the rest of us will be part of behind schedule. So this is purely a report that corporations use in order to imagine more ways to get money out of all of us. But at the same time, it's interesting because she lists 22 items in her report, her forecast report for 2022, just coinciding with the 22. She just comes up with a few paragraphs. The report is online, and it's very well written, and there's nothing new about what she forecast for 2022. The same chaos and angst and division, and also some other stuff about digital, the digital world. But one of the last item on the list that's on the report, item number 22, wars of words. She sort of like points out at a trend that started like a few years ago actually, but it was very much present in 2021, in which language, words, the usage of words has helped to establish battle lines in the current culture wars. So, in other words, she describes how there's a side in society that is trying to be mindful and in being inclusive, using language. She uses examples like the LGBTQIA plus as an umbrella term that keeps expanding. And also terms like, I cannot find it right now, but different words that they tend to demonstrate the embrace for diversity. So language is being sort of like used by this kind of like group of people or one side. Terms like neurodiversity, ethnic diversity, and speaking of awareness of prejudice such as racism, sexism, ageism, ableism, and classism. So on one side, there is this group of people that are alert and they're trying to come up with words that are more inclusive. On the other side, as we know, are those who are baffled, annoyed, angered by such terms, who rail against, quote, political correctness gone crazy, end quote, who find it all too complicated and all too inhibiting because you can't say anything anymore, end quote. People get triggered, which is another buzzword for 2021, by the concepts of cancel culture or wokeism or whatever that's pronounced. So Marianne decides or sort of like points out at this divide, and she's saying she's forecasting that in 2022 this will get much more intense. The divide will be greater and less people in the middle. There will be less people sort of like in the middle. So there is one sentence that caught our attention. Don't expect many white flags waving in this battle. And that's the sentence that sort of like we're going to use as an inspiration for the concept and subject that we're proposing to do for the beginning collection of paintings of 2022. Specifically, white flags. So she goes on and on explaining that this is going to get worse. And she also poses or explains that there's a threat in the sense that precisely the people in the middle of those two sides, which is the majority of people. So she's worried, or she believes that this hostility and the extremes, the political extremes, will prevent the majority of people in the middle from simply tuning in and opting out of pushing for positive change. So the risk is not on becoming much more hostile between these two sides, which it will happen. The risk or the forecast is people in the middle just tuning out and not doing steps or taking action into creating positive change for everyone. But anyhow, let's go back to White Flag, and this is a painting by Jasper Jones, and it's titled, let me just go see, it's titled White Flag. Oh my gosh, yeah. And it's the American flag essentially, and then there's no color. It's stripped off color, and it's titled White Flag. And he did several versions of this. So white flags. Our point is that white flags have been used by painters and artists throughout art history as both concept and subject. And possibly the most well-known would be the series that Jasper Jones did of the American flag. Different versions. So much so, I'm just going to go back to other images, that this is another example of another Jasper Jones white flag, titled White Flag, and used with different materials. We found this artist, Matsaki, and they are known apparently for recreating work by other well-known artists. So this is White Flag 2P 2018, and they just recreated the Jasper Jones White Flag. I'm going to show you a few more paintings of white flags, but at the same time I'm going to interject really quickly and explain or mention or talk about the symbolism of the white flag, the origins, and how it has been used. So the white flag is an international recognized protective sign of truce, ceasefire, and negotiation. So we want to start 2022 painting a symbol of negotiation, of communication, and of truce. A white flag signifies to all that an approaching negotiator is unarmed, with an intent to communicate. Persons carrying or waving a white flag are not to be fired upon, nor are they allowed to open fire. So there are many interpretations about the symbolism of a white, this universal sort of like symbol, and we feel like we're sort of like leaning on this approach to open or the intent to communicate, not to the symbol or symbolizing surrender, which is sort of like what I would say today most people associate white flags with. The idea of like, we are the weaker side in the battlefield and therefore we surrender. Yes, there's that symbolism, but there's more to the white flag than just that. The idea to open a new way of like engaging with each other. It's what we're interested in. And despite the fact that Marion Salzman, right? Yeah, Marion Salzman says that in 2022, there will be no white flags. Precisely because of that forecast, we want to paint one. Just so our intent to contribute to some sort of like positive change in 2022, and at least have in our homes a symbol of truce. So anyone who may just come into our house, or anyone who may want to see our work, I just think it's sort of like beautiful and poetic to have a painting of a white flag as an international symbol of, yes, you're welcome, and let's talk and negotiate if we need to. But anyhow, the first mention of the usage of white flags to surrender is made during the Eastern Han Dynasty in what in contemporary China today, but this was in between 25 and 220 AD. So it has a very long history, which is something that surprised us when we started looking at the history of the white flag, because we thought it was something new and based on obsolete 19th century symbolism of white as purity, which is totally abhorrent, and we were not going to do something like that. But it has a very, very long history and has been used for other civilizations and cultures for a very long time. In the Roman Empire, the historian Cornelius Tacitus mentions a white flag of surrender in AD 109. So 109 AD, there was the first sort of like historical reference on a textbook, I guess, or whatever medium was used to document history at the time. Also, we found every country kind of has like a different symbolism for the white flag. There are many appropriations and contributions to it. But there was one specific idea as well that we found remarkable and interesting in regards to what we are contemporary going through. So in March 2020, the Belgian Royal Palace in Brussels raised a white flag to support and express gratitude for caring staff amid coronavirus outbreak. Many Belgians also displayed a white flag in front of their house for the same reason. So that's like 2 years ago already, but it's kind of like nice to see how this symbol of universal appreciation or truth or communication or engagement has been used in different ways, and we think that that's a beautiful way of using that symbol. Malaysian people launched a movement with hashtag Bendera Putti, which in English is hashtag white flag, on social media, urging those struggling financially and in need of food and essentials to fly a white flag outside their homes. So again, another very poetic and beautiful usage of a universal symbol in order to get something or symbolize something that brings people together, which is why we're going to do this. I'm going to share another painting, and time-wise, we only have like 10 minutes left, but anyhow, so this is a more representational, figurative approach to the white flag subject in a painting. This was painted by Hughie Lee Smith, Man with the White Flag, 1987, and it's an oil painting on canvas. And so it's a different way of bringing the white flag into a narrative. We don't know much about the painting or the artist, but we thought it was interesting to show that in fact there are many artists that use the white flag as a subject for their paintings. So another example, and I'm going to give you a couple more. This is a painting by Stephen Swanson, Landscape with a White Flag, number 3, painted in 1990, a way of introducing the subject into a wider context or another style of painting, I would say. So into a landscape, the emptiness and the scale versus the single tiny little pole with the white flag and the shadow. No humans in this painting whatsoever. So interpret it as you will or as you wish. Sort of like a battlefield without anyone, and silence and absence of war. I don't know. I'm going to just show another painting by the same artist on a different landscape. This is Stephen Swanson, Landscape with a White Flag, number 4, painted in 1990. Same idea of open space, playing with scale and simplicity. So other examples of paintings with white flags. This is a painting by Zdenek Cervinka, Gondola and Nobleman with White Flag. So you can see also the scale. There's a little bit more narrative, but it looks like an individual on stranded on an island, and then just raising the white flag and just trying to catch the attention of the gondoliers, just rowing around, which it's a very whimsical approach to the use of white flag. But again, conceptually, there's this idea going back to the Malaysian initiative of like raising a white flag, or if you were in need of food or essentials during the pandemic. So that this idea of a white flag being a symbol of asking for help when you feel like you need something. It's sort of like a visual version of an SOS, I guess. So and finally, we're just going to we have a few more, but this is an interesting one, and this is Francis Newton Souza, Untitled The White Flag Movement for Peace. So this is a felt tip pen on paper. So this was a project involved several artists in which they were asked to create artwork around the subject of a white flag for the purposes of invoking or bringing attention to peace. It was a peace initiative, created by artists. So this was one of the examples, but there were several drawings symbolizing or using white flags as subject for the work. Again, a different way of interpreting the white flag, a symbol of peace as well. Surrender is there, but it's not the only way that white flags have been used in history. And let me see if I can just bring another one, a very interesting one. This is by contemporary painter Inbar Hassan, Israeli painter born in 1973. White Flag. This is a canvas painting in 2000. And this has more of a, I would say, surreal, perhaps, component. There's a landscape, there's a figure, there's objects, there's a still life, and so there is obviously a narrative. There's an intent of storytelling in this image. But this is something much more related to what we are proposing, which is a person holding a white piece of fabric. So essentially what we're going to ask everyone to do is to do their own version of a white flag, and we're trying to make it as open as possible. And this could be a first idea, or one idea. Grab something white in your home, a napkin, piece of clothing, a handkerchief, a tie, something that would represent a white flag, and paint it. And so how do you position it? What kind of like arrangement are you going to use for that? Well, this is up to us in regards of like how to portray that. You could just get a stick and then tie up the napkin to the stick, or a chopstick, or a fork, or create a more physical white flag, imagining that you wanted to wave it, physically wave it outside. Or it could be something a little bit more sartorial, just holding it. It could be also covering an object with it. So it doesn't have to be the assignment is not to construct a white flag and then wave it, although that is one option. The assignment is to kind of like paint something that symbolizes or depicts this symbol, this universal symbol. And this could be done in different ways, and this is one way to do it that we thought it was interesting. There is another example. This is also by a contemporary artist, Jasek Sawiki, a Polish artist born in 1948, White Flag 2005, also depicting figures and depicting or bringing focus to an actual white flag with some landscape and some abstracted elements. But another example of maybe stylistically how to approach it. And I'm not going to go more than 1 hour, half an hour. So I have a couple of minutes, and I'm going to end with this image, which I think it's pretty interesting. This is also by an Israeli-American, or I should say not also, an Israeli-American artist born in 1986, contemporary artist, Adam Yekutieli, also known as No Hope. No Hope spelled K-N-O-W. No Hope. No Hope. So there's a little bit of an art statement that I want to read, and then this will conclude the presentation. But again, we're doing white flags, or at least that's the title of the assignment, to start 2022. The reason is because we want to bring more universal symbols of unity, and be less divided, and open communication, and make sure that whoever comes to our home, our studio, with whatever points of view and whatever however different those may be, they feel safe knowing that we have a painting depicting a universal symbol of peace. So I'm reading the artist statement or biography. I hope to move heavy hearts at least 1 inch to the side by confessing that I'm petrified and secretly in love with the world. No Hope has been bringing his heartfelt images of human struggle and promise to urban streets and gallery spaces since 2004. His narrative street art art, murals, assemblages, and site-specific installations are based on observations of himself and his surroundings. Hope lives in Tel Aviv and the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which, with its associated issues of identity, borders, and shared humanity, informs his work, though he insists that he is not a political artist. Period. Composed of the treatise and building materials, including wood, bricks, and weathered paper, No Hope's compositions are populated by a lanky everyman who wears his heart on his sleeve and stands for the precarious and precious connections between fellow human beings. We hope you join us in the next 2 weeks. Thank you so much.